he saw a problem and saw a solution to that problem and devised an approach to solving that problem. And it's a pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure is mine.
And
thank you very much.
It's also an honor to have you tell us your story, how you got to where you are, what prompted those decisions, in an attempt to make people like me who also want to do things like this, who want to become reasonable people, notable people, and sit in high seats in the society. And of course, the narrative of a normal Christian guy in the society these days, it doesn't make it true anyway, is that we have to settle for less. We have to make do with whatever we see.
No.
We are not the typical go-getters as they will tempt us to be. However, we've had people like you who, in a good relationship with God, has attained heights that is commonly not visible. In the present society, we have to steal, we have to lie, we have to change numbers, we have to edit figures, we have to do all sorts of things to get there. So we want to now hear your side of the story to inspire some other young people out there who want to be like you, who are on the road to being like you, who have the same ambitions you have when you were young, who are wishing they are in a place where you are. But of course, it's hard. We know it's hard. But by God's grace, you are here. So first of all, we want to know who you are. Like, they should know who you are by just watching this interview. Who you are, what you do, and your name and every other thing, so that they will be familiar with you before you start telling them how you got here.
Great, thank you very much for having me, and I appreciate you taking time to come here. So my name is Peter Terwase Tortiv-Ato. I'm a civil and structural engineer, chartered civil engineer in the United Kingdom, and then here in Nigeria we register with Current to qualify as a practicing engineer. So I've got that as well. And then you get your professional memberships of the different bodies, the different engineering bodies. So I'm a member of the Nigerian Institution of Civil Engineers and Nigerian Institution of Structural Engineers. And I'm a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. And then a fellow of the Institution of Civil Engineers in the United Kingdom. So I grew up here in Nigeria.
Okay.
I started my school, I think pretty much all of my education here in Nigeria, because the education that counts for you usually is the foundation, which is the primary, secondary, and then of course your bachelor's degree. So I've done all those three in Nigeria. School in Benue for my primary school. Then I did my secondary school here in Abuja, Federal Government College, Bali. Then I had my university degree in civil engineering.
What's that? Is that high school?
From in Federal University of Technology, Mina.
Okay.
And then I did a master's degree in structural design and construction management from Kingston University, London. So my journey has been an interesting one, and I was privileged to grow up in a home of firm Christian beliefs. So I've grown knowing now you work hard for whatever you want. You do not cut corners in anything whatsoever, no matter how mundane that may be. It's always you do it the right way, and the right way was the only way. So growing up in a home like that kind of helped me to shape my objectives in life and my ambitions and everything. So once I left university, that's from Mina, I did my National Youth Service, NYSC, in Gombe. And that was in a remote part of Gombe that year called Balanga Local Government. It was in Terwase. At the time, there wasn't even a Montreal road there, per se, but somehow it was quite exciting, and no regrets doing that. Then after that, I was employed in Benue. I'm working as what you might call a municipal engineer, which is basically the government employed engineer that looks after government projects. Sometimes does direct work for government, what we call direct labor, and then supervise contractors employed by government to deliver projects. So working as a government engineer can come with these challenges, especially tempting your faith as a Christian, and where there is pressure to change figures in terms of the cost of work, or pressure to accept incomplete work, or pressure to even sign of work that was never executed. So but by the grace of God, I was able to navigate working for Benue State government for 10 years without any blemish or succumbing to pressures to sign off incomplete or done work. But doing that, I think it comes with the backing of faith. You have faith in God, and you have the belief that whatever you do, it's as given to you by God. When you have that fear of God, see, the fear of God underpins everything you do. So when you fear God, you strive to do or obey, be obedient to whatever the scripture says. So that fear kind of keeps you going as a young believer, and in a workplace or in a work environment where there's pressures to do things the wrong way, so to speak. So going from the civil service with all of that, and then I moved to the United Kingdom, and then I carried on working there. I've been working there since past few years, I would say. And then I've taken the same beliefs really, and then I've come to understand in my journey working as a young person and developing myself with the help of God, and then striving to know God better. You come to understand that it's actually easier working in the steps or the direction or under the direction of God than working on your own or under any other direction. So it changes your understanding, and you find out that things are actually, it's easier for you to climb to the top with the backing of God than to do so on your own. So on your own, it could take you, say, 20, 30 years to climb to the top. Though with God, it takes you half the time or less. So, and it's backed by scripture, or my understanding of the scripture. When you go back to the Old Testament with the richest people in the Bible, and if you look at the Bible, most of the characters, the richest characters in the Bible are those who are most obedient to God. If you start from people like Abraham to Isaac to Jacob, one thing that the common thread that joins them is the obedience to God, and they were super rich. When you talk about, and then they were innovators as well. So we talk about the blessings of Abraham, everybody knows about that. But when you come down to Isaac, you forget that Isaac actually invented irrigation farming, because the Isaac farmed in the year where there was famine in the land, and in that same year he produced 100 food, and there was famine in the land at that time. So how did he do it? The Bible scholars will tell you that he did it through irrigation farming. So he invented it essentially. There was no rain, but somehow he produced crops, invented it. So the richest people in the Bible were the people that were most obedient to God. So from then, when you have that understanding, you find out that when you come closer to God, it's easier for you to develop your career. And then in terms of how that has impacted me or helped me and influenced my career, it's huge, it's immense. Because I work in one of the biggest consultancy companies in the world today as a technical director, and then we are nearly 50,000 employees. Of these 50,000, there is only 600 in the director cadre, and I happen to be one of them. And it's by the sheer grace of God to get me into that cadre, and getting there was more or less miraculous, because I've got loads of people who are far more experienced than me, and they come to me and ask me, can you mentor us to get to this position? I'm like, hang on a minute, how am I supposed to mentor you when I look up to you? You understand? But somehow they've been there, but they've not been privileged to get to that position. Because for me, I just see because they simply did not have the backing of God. That's why they have to wait that long to get it. But for me, I told God I want this, and He showed me the steps to follow. And I think the time frame I even signed up for with God, He kind of achieved it quicker, and then everything just lined up like that, based on faith. And as a matter of fact, as of the time I did my promotion interview, well, before I even did my promotion interview to get to my current position, I already done the Thanksgiving for it. Because I had faith that it will come. So I'd gone to the interview and I'd passed the interview and everything I'd done at the time. God said it will happen. So leaning on God as a young person is critical. You are always going to be better off. So the narrative that Christianity slows you down is actually not correct. It's the opposite. So when you're a Christian and you serve God fervently, you follow His ways, you're obedient, nothing ever comes in your way. You achieve quicker than everybody else. You see, when you hear this song about mercy drops, you see showers of blessing, mercy drops round are falling. God blesses everybody because we're all His children. So but the real blessing goes to those that serve Him and obey Him. So there are two things: obedience and service. So the book of Exodus is say, if you obey and serve me, I will bless your bread, I'll bless your water, and all of that. So if you do obedience only and you don't serve, you're not going to get the full package.
You get accordingly.
Basically, you get what you put in. It's what you put in, it's what you get with God. So you need to obey, you need to serve, and then everything else, it just rains down. Just pour. So I'd like to encourage young people that if you want to grow quicker in life without any blemish, you need to follow the teaching of scriptures. Obey God and you serve God. So serving God, using your time to do things for the advancement of the things of God, either serving in church units or even your private time, using your time to help other people is still service to God. You see, the Bible says whatever you do without charity is nothing. So the time you spend doing charitable work, charity does not necessarily mean using money, but using your time, volunteering your expertise, doing things for people because of God is part of service.
Doctor told us that you are an aspiring governor for Benue State.
Yes.
Did you always know you would get this big?
I'll say yes. I've always been. I would say it goes back to the grace of God, in fact, because I was born as the first son in my family, so that leadership mentality has always been there growing up. People, they drum me into your head as a child. Oh, don't have younger brothers, you have to do, you can't do this because your brothers will copy and all of that. So you grow up with that mentality that you need to provide leadership, and then you then become a natural. So I've always known that anywhere I go, whether I want it, I don't want, and the majority of the time I wouldn't ask for it. It just comes naturally, from primary school to secondary school, doing professorships all through and everything, and then somehow it just comes to you. People just gravitate when they understand that you can provide that leadership. So, but in coming down to, I've always been one that was interested in the development of wherever I am. Wherever I find myself, I'm not going to, I want to live in a better place. It's always been like that in my nature. Wherever I go, even simple things like Airbnb. If I travel, I take an Airbnb. If I leave, whoever is coming next would not need cleaning before the next person occupies. I always have, it needs to be better when I'm leaving. So whether it's clean or not, if I come, I'll clean it up. If I finish using it, I'll clean it up before I leave. So I always want to keep things, but it's just a second nature. So I do it without even thinking about it.
Has any of these your ideas ever been a disadvantage to you on your journey?
No. It's about the disadvantage, as other people might see it, is you end up doing more than everyone else. But one thing probably I haven't touched about is the extent to which you need to work hard to succeed. You see, working in a society where I mean, the society the world over, this favoritism, man or man, as you call it in Nigeria, it's everywhere in the world. It's not just in Nigeria. You know, you're always gonna get to a point where you need people to confirm that they know you, or you need connections or whatever. They call it networking in the West, you know, but all it is connections. You need to have a connection, you know, but to get to that point. So at the start of your career, you need to work incredibly hard when you start your career. That's when you demonstrate your competence. So in your early stages of your career, your competence carries you to a point. And then at that point is your connections and now push you beyond that point. And these connections doesn't mean you need to scratch somebody's back or anything, no. You just need to have good working relationships with people. You know, people want to work with people that they are happy to wake up and come to the office and meet. You know, you spend the better part of your life with people at work than your family even, because you're there 9 to 5 every day. By the time you get home, you literally just go to bed, you know. So want to have good working relationships with people. They are going to recommend you even when you're not there. You know, so that and then mentorship is another thing that helps young people to rise. You know, so when you have mentors, people showing you the direction, this is how you go, this is how what you don't do, and all of that, that helps as well to propel you quicker. If you don't have mentors, you could make costly mistakes that can be difficult to recover from. Sometimes you don't make mistakes, but it just takes you longer to get there. You know, but with mentors, you get direction, people guide you, this is what you do, that can give you advantage. And then more importantly, mentors help you with the connections. You know, they speak for you when you're not there and stuff like that. You know, so coming back to your question, my aspiration for Benue is basically because whatever I have benefited or learned, or the grace God has bestowed on me, I'd like to see that expand more. You know, when I decided to run for elections in Benue, it was obviously I have to convince my family first. You know, so my family, nobody wants to participate in politics or want their loved one to participate in politics in Nigeria because it says this, is that, all of that. You know, and living in the society that I live in with my family, obviously it was I had to convince them. And then one of my pitch to them was, why do you not want me to do this? I said, okay, because probably whatever I'm doing here, you like it, that's why you want to keep me to yourself. I'll carry on doing it. And I said, okay, if you actually like what I'm doing, that's why you'd rather I don't go. You should think about doing the same thing on a bigger scale and having more people benefit from it. You know, so, and that was what won them over in the end. So whatever we think we're doing right now, we can actually do this on a bigger scale and have more people benefit from it. So that's really what drives me to aspire to govern Benue and then try and change things and make things better for everybody as opposed to a select few.
I picked 3 things from I'm trying to remember them. I don't think I even need this. Conversation is going so smoothly. I spoke to Dr. Engr, who at a point when he saw that his visions were bigger than where he was, and where he was not going to get him there, he had to resign his job. And that was a tough blow on him, his family, even though they were supportive at that time. And this is exactly the same thing you are doing right now. You are doing well. And against what people think about politicians, you as contesting to be a politician is almost like giving up most things that, just like you said, everybody around you is comfortable with. Because if you are taking up that mantle with this mind, is to serve. And I don't think there's much convenience in serving in that kind of capacity. Is the burden becoming easier with your family, or at some point you still get the small, are you not going to let this thing go? How do you take it one day at a time? Do they still think you are doing the wrong thing? And have you ever doubted yourself in the whole movement? And when you did, if you did, what was the reassurance you gave to yourself?
Okay, no thanks. So in terms of the family support, I think I'm one of a few privileged ones or lucky ones, so to speak, that have full support of my family, especially my immediate family. My wife and kids, they are totally supportive. And as a matter of fact, the support is such that I can't even if I decide today to pull back, I'll be disappointing them.
Okay.
You know, so that kind of is something I'm really grateful to God for. I know there's a lot of many politicians struggle with getting that level of support at home. So the support at home is really, really good. You know, but I mean, do I wake up some days and feel that it is? I never really feel that it's daunting. No. There obviously there are days the challenges are such that you ask yourself, why am I even stressing myself? Why am I putting myself forward? And then the people that you're trying to get to a position where you can help, they probably do not appreciate what you can do for them. They probably slowing down and everything. So when I speak or when I feel that way, I mean, the reassurance that just comes to mind is when you think about Moses, how Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt and everything. You see everything he went through. It was a thankless job. Yeah, it was a thankless job. He went through a whole lot of insults from the Israelites, and everything. The disbelief, and at the slightest discomfort, they come for him. Say, why did you bring us out? Even we're better off. Let us to serve Pharaoh and whatever.
Yeah.
So that kind of gives me the strength to power on. You think about, that where you're taking these people, it's going to be a better place for them. Even if they can't say it now, you can say it.
Yeah.
So, and it takes the grace of God to be able to see where you want to go to. And when you want to do that, see, as you purpose it in your heart, that is how God delivers for you. So when you have that in your heart, this is how I want to take my people, God then start to pave the way. There are challenges, no doubt. But as the challenges come, as they are coming your way, that's how. It's not God that put those challenges in front of you. It's the people, the devil that tries to put them. But as they are coming, God is removing them.
Yeah.
Removing them. So the strength ultimately to power on comes from God.
By His grace.
So,
then the number two, the second thing I picked up is when you spoke about mentorship. I mean, I'm speaking to you today because of Doctor. I don't think there was a way in this world I would have this access. I was having a conversation with somebody in my compound, and I told him, a man who has not served cannot be a master. And he opposed the whole idea, and was like, it's not possible that he knows people that have not bowed down to anybody, has not served anybody in any way. They are masters at themselves, at what they do. Spoke about people who lent instruments from their house and the whole thing and the whole that. If you are placing emphasis on mentorship, it means at the point you have to also serve.
absolutely.
And these people have this mind, let me not say these people, a lot of people have this mindset that you don't have to, there's a phrase for it, it's vulgar, so I don't want to use it, but it's common. I don't want to kiss anybody's butts, I don't, because but mentorship requires that.
Yeah, so the thing about mentorship is not about groveling or kissing any butt or anything like that. No, that's not mentorship. Mentorship is about accepting to be guided by people that have been there before. So the difference is when you have a mentor and you don't, it takes you longer. You see, one thing I didn't tell about my story is before I got to a position where I could even apply to be technical director, it took the grace of God for me to even get to that point. So I went to this course during lockdown. At the start, I think 2020 or 2021, the early days of lockdown. I went on this course, and it's a course that normally I wouldn't even pay attention to. The only reason I went to that course is there was criticism of the ethnic minorities with the blacks and basically the non-whites in the business. We complained that we're not in leadership position, and then their pushback was, well, each time we invite you for stuff, you don't turn up, which is true, because I used to see all those stuff as corporate chit chat that didn't add any value. So I didn't used to bother about them. So, but because of that criticism, when this course came along, I agreed, I put myself forward. And then they send you a Google form, and then you think, oh, you write your name and email. That's all. No, I write your name and email. The next thing, the next page opens, you should write 1,000 words on why they should accept you. Yeah, the page opened 1,000 words essay, and that I was put off, of course, not because I couldn't write that. And then by then there was no even ChatGPT to give you ideas or anything yet. So you had to write everything from your head and all of that. So I was put off, no doubt, because I didn't have the time. But I also had that determination to say, okay, these guys are saying it's your fault, so let me do my bit. You know, because God always says, do your word. The covenant with God always, there's always a condition.
Yeah.
You know, so I said, okay, this is the condition. My bit, I'll do it, no problem. I created time. I wrote it overnight. You know, not even during working hours. Even though I could do it during working hours and book the time for it. But I did it outside of work hours, wrote the words, and I was selected to go on the course out of the so many people that applied. And when I went on the course, it was an eye-opener. At that time, I went on the course, I was principal. You know, so I was principal, I was on P4. And then I needed to get to technical director at some point. So at the time I went to the course, I had given myself 5 years to go to get to technical director. But I went to the course, and then the course facilitator, we had a one-on-one, and she said, 5 years was too long, I could do it in 4. I said, okay, that's interesting. And she now gave me guides on how to do it in 4. And then she gave me targets, and I had to meet just to satisfy her. But meeting those targets is what kind of accelerated everything. So in the end, I did it in 3 years, not even the 5 that was projected.
Or the 4 that she was.
Or the 4 that she now projected. You know, I ended up doing it in 3. But that critical step needed to happen because she was there. I wouldn't have known if she wasn't there. So that is what mentors do for you. So mentors are meant to guide you. You're not meant to necessarily serve them. You know, however, like you rightly said, you know, if you don't serve someone, you're not going to learn the ropes. Serving someone doesn't necessarily mean you have to clean their shoes. Yeah. You basically need to learn the ropes. You learn the ropes, you know. So even, okay, if we look at the Nigerian example, the richest person in this country is Dangote. Dangote's daughter has worked for him. And that is learning the ropes. Yeah. He could simply decide that, okay, it's his daughter, she sits at home, and then one day she becomes CEO. But the company will crash that day because she wouldn't know how he operates. Yeah. So now she has to go through the ropes, learn through the ranks. Obviously, she gets accelerated thing, but she must do it. I've worked for a family business in the UK before as well. It was the same thing. The children were part of, I'm not, 2 separate companies I work for were family businesses. Children were part of the ropes. And in one of the companies, she was even the clerk. She was the one making tea for us and everything. Her father was the owner of the company, you know. But it was all part of learning the ropes. Today, she's doing very well for herself. You know, the other family, the same thing. There are 2 of them, there are 2 boys. They started in the ranks, you know, they were moving up quickly, but they had to learn. You know, they had to learn. And then at the end of the day, one became the MD, one became the exec director. You know, so it's important that people understand. You know, you could get there on your own, but it will take you longer and you make more costly mistakes. So what mentors do is help you get there quicker and avoid costly errors.
They have been there.
Yes. You know, they help you avoid those costly errors. So in my career, working in Nigeria, I always had 1 or 2 people that I look up to, and if I have career challenges, they will advise me. But when I went to the UK, I didn't have that quite single individual. You know, so it took the grace of God that I came across this lady on this course that changed my trajectory completely. You know, if I didn't go to that course, I'd probably still be an associate now.
Yeah.
You know, that's just the simple truth.
But you wouldn't know you could do it in that time.
Because the people that, when I came as a principal, the people that were associates in my team, they are still associates. I've leapfrogged them. And they are still where they are, where I met them. You know, so this is where the God factor comes in as well.
Yeah, true.
You know, so serving, it's a must. You need to. We call it service, but it don't necessarily mean it's master-servant relationship. No, but when you have guide,
Just makes things
It makes things easy. You are not going to make costly mistakes. That's the most important factor. And it's all facets of life, including politics. So me coming into the political arena now, I've never been an active politician in that sense, but I've always followed politics closely. So everything, I understand the political configuration of not just my state, Benue, but Nigeria. I always follow it closely. Understand the permutations that are happening all the time, but I've never really been an active participant. But because I followed it from the outside and I understand everything, does not mean that I'll then jump into it and just start running with it. No, I need guidance. Yeah. So I need to follow people that have done it before and make sure that I'm listening to their advice so that I don't make any costly mistakes that they would have made.
Yeah, true.
Because what gives you the edge is that we say we learn from mistakes, but the real edge you get is learning from others' mistakes, not yours. You don't have to make the same mistakes people have made if you listen to them.
Yeah. So the third aspect that is I think is important, because we have some people who beat their chest to tell you that if you ever want to amount to something reasonable, you have to come down to be an entrepreneur or a CEO, own something for yourself. Are you an entrepreneur?
Yeah, to some extent, yes. I would say yes.
But that's not your major is how far you've gone in your own career, right?
Yes, I'm a career person as well.
That means in both ways, even as a businessman and as a career person, you can scale to the highest height.
Absolutely.
If you have God by your side.
That's it.
How would you advise somebody like me? Because I know it's relative to whatever you plan or wish for yourself. So it's not a straight line, it's not a textbook. If your mindset is working towards the CEO side or the business side, of course you should devote most of your time to it. And if you see yourself as not the business kind of person, however, in this present day, and I'm even guilty of that, I'm trying to make everybody believe, because that's what I believe now, but maybe it's just because the way my life is moving. I believe you just have to have something, you have to be building something for yourself before you can have that sparking future that you desire. But you have shown me now that, I must have seen it but ignored, but during the conversation it dawned on me that a career person as well can scale those heights. And it doesn't necessarily mean to go and quit your job and start a business or whatever, or start selling something. What would you tell people like me who are in our current jobs, not happy about it, wishing things could be better, but know deep down that they are not business people, but everybody is advising them in the same direction? If you know you are not happy with your business, your job, you have to quit it, open a business, that way you can scale. And so what would you advise those kind of people who are in those situations, conditions where they don't like what they are doing, but that's what they know they are? How do they scale these heights? With God or with with dedication? How do they get to this point that you've got into from the Benue State government to the UK?
So you see, with working and indeed business or anything, so first of all, the career you choose, you need to enjoy what you're doing. If you're doing it, if you're a working person, a career person, the first bonus you can give yourself is to love your job. And then when you love your job, you are absolutely dedicated to it. See St. Paul, our Apostle Paul, the Bible. Apostle Paul did not meet Christ. He was one of the last apostles. But Apostle Paul wrote more than half of the New Testament. And he said that even though he's not like them, but by the grace of God, he labored more than them all. Yeah. So you can see that even in scriptures, there's a place for hard work.
Yeah.
So when you love your job and you work hard, there is no way you are not going to succeed. So that's the starting point. So if you don't love your job, you're first of all doing yourself a disservice. So every day you come to work, you're already fighting with your inner self. You have not started the job, you're already tired. So it's a disservice to yourself. But when you love the job you're doing, irrespective whether you're a cleaner, if you come clean in such a way that nobody else can clean that way, you understand? So the minute you are a dedicated person, you are not going to serve before mere mortals. You're going to serve before kings.
Before kings, yeah, true.
That's just how it works. So like in my own growing up, starting my career and everything, that's how I've always been. I'll be the first person in the office, I'll be the last person to go. So before you know it, I was not doing jobs for my bosses anymore. I was doing jobs for their own bosses. As a level 8 civil servant, I was already doing jobs for the PAMSEC, who was like way above my level. Ordinarily, I shouldn't even be seen anywhere near the PAMSEC's office. So, but that's just how scriptures work. If you're dedicated to your job, you are not going to stand before men. You're going to stand before kings. But the first thing to be dedicated, you need to love the job. When you love the job, you are not going to be struggling yourself to do it. And then you now work as hard. You work the hardest. Anywhere I go to, any role that I've left in the past, by the grace of God, when I leave, minimum 2 people have to take the role. I've not left the role before and then somebody replace me. It's always minimum of 2 people that will come and take that role.
You set standards before leaving.
Yeah, because when I do my job, I work morning and night. And others, not everybody can do that. I work all around the clock.
You must have had a lot of people hate you for that character.
No, ironically, they don't. They don't. I don't compete with anybody. I don't compete with anybody. I've never seen a colleague as a threat or a competition. So like when I did my interview for the directorship, part of that interview is a 360 survey, where they send survey around to your colleagues and they answer questions about you and actually write. And one of the common themes that came back in that is my own peers, because they sent to your juniors, they sent to your peers, they sent to your seniors. You see, the common theme coming back from my peers was I was not selfish with knowledge, which is true, because whatever I know, I want everybody else to know. They knowing is beneficial to me, because what that means is they can help me out.
Yeah.
Unlike when people are hoarding knowledge so that it's only them that know and they want to keep the advantage. So that's just how it works with your career. You need to love your job, you need to work incredibly hard, and you can never go wrong on those two. So if you're doing something you don't love, there's always opportunity. Change it. If you start, the people that graduate, everybody that graduated above me in university left civil engineering. Some went to the bank, some went to IT and everything. So even though we went through health, studying the degree in school, but they went other places. So you can switch career at any time. If you don't love it, switch. But you need to love it. You need to enjoy doing it. Because it's when you enjoy doing it that you're going to do it dedicatedly. And whatever you're doing, whatever it is, no matter how little, it needs to be done absolutely well.
And that's how scaling comes.
That's how scaling comes. People are going to notice. As a career person, people are going to notice. And the thing about career, even in this country, in Nigeria, when people know that you are that good, you dictate how much you get paid. It's you that will tell them this is how much you pay me for me to work for you. So that's how, even in this country, there are people that determine their salaries.
So I know this question is I don't want to say it's too early, because I'm already seeing you there. It's not. What would you do different as a governor?
So if I'm governor now, I'll be looking to replicate all of this across my state. Give young people opportunity to grow, give them opportunity to get mentored into what they can become. You see, the talent in Nigeria, just in my Benue, the talent, like since I started pursuing this ambition, everything I do is with Benue people, young people, from the graphics to the video coverage to everything. It's just incredible how much these guys can do. So all they need is the support and the platform to grow. So one of the things we'll be doing, even this morning I was having a conversation with one of my political leaders on how we're going to do this skills transfer to get people on the pedestal where they can now grow. So there is a polytechnic in Benue now that provides 3 core skills, sponsored by World Bank and other donor agencies. They provide accounting training, they provide marketing training, and then they provide basic procurement training. So whatever skill set you've got, if you have these 3, you can start and run a business.
Is there a religious approach? Let me not say religious approach, a Christian approach to something you are going to do different?
No, absolutely. See, the faith drives everything for me. My faith in God is absolutely everything. Anything that is going to deter me from serving God, then it's a non-starter. Even my ambition to be governor of Benue State, if I have to deviate from the path of God, then the ambition is no longer for me. Whatever God cannot do for me is simply not for me. That's just my life. So I don't have to become governor and then mount the pulpit and preach to everybody. My behaviors should be good enough for people to want to be like me.
Yeah, true.
Understand? That's the biggest or the easiest way to evangelize.
Yeah.
And even my mentor in the faith, the Christian faith, he had never sat me down to say, Peter, this is what you do, X, Y, Z. I simply just follow his life. All I do is just follow what he's doing. So if he was doing the wrong thing, then
of course.
I won't be able to follow him.
Yeah.
So I expect that as governor, if I'm professing the Christian faith, then every action I do should reflect that. There should be fairness. There should be empathy. There should be charity.
There should be truth.
There should be truth. That transparency must be there. People must look at you and say this person truly mirrors the behavior of Christianity. My mentor, that is how he is. And he doesn't preach to me about anything. I just follow him. I just say, oh, this man does X, Y, Z. He's transparent, he's generous, he shows empathy, he looks after people, he's always serving. He's in every single committee you can think of. How he manages to cope, I don't know. But he's everywhere. He's simply everywhere, and he's doing well everywhere. And then he still goes to work. He's not even a business, he's a career person. He goes to work. He does his job diligently. He's a very senior person in his office. But he still manages to do everything going. So I expect that as governor, I'd like to live like that. I'd like to mirror what? It's we that have kids. Kids copy everything you do.
Yeah.
So the easiest way to train up a child is just do what you want them to do and they'll do it. Yeah. It's that simple. And even as adults, we unconsciously mirror what our parents did. Sometimes even if it's behaviors that we didn't like, those are the ones we try to cut off. The ones that you like, it just unconsciously comes to you that, oh yeah, this is how my dad would have done it. Yeah. And then you just go with it. So as governor, I expect to mirror how I would like young people to evolve. And it will be underpinned really by my faith. I don't expect everybody to follow my faith, but I expect my faith to be the foundation of everything that I will do. And if that's not going to work, then if I have to relinquish my faith for governorship, no, that's not going to happen. It's the other way around. Yeah. But I expect that as governor, then the people should be happy. Then because being a Christian should filter through every single thing that happens. Mm-hmm. From the transparency to making sure that you are not stealing, and then treating people right, all of that comes with the package of being a true Christian. That is what I'd like to mirror as governor. That's
it. I'm looking forward to see a governor like you in Nigeria. I don't know if there's anyone like that yet, but the whole political narrative that these people have been giving to Nigerians is that none of them is good. Yeah. That's what they are doing. We judge them by what we see.
Yes.
What they choose to ignore, what they choose to talk about. It's not saying good in the country right now, even in the past. So when there are some people who have become governors or aspiring that we were so enthusiastic about, like we believe this guy is going to do this. And when they get there, even the ones that came with a cloak, a Christian cloak, could deny things that are pure truth.
Yeah.
And I was shocked to my bones that if he say this is what it is and it's going this direction, then something has left. See that the political ambition has left or the faith has left. Something has left.
Yeah.
And now you've told us how, because this is an attempt to make these young people to know that these things are possible.
Yeah.
Show us how God helped you securing your dream job, how hard work has paid a lot, how you've basically depended on God's grace, right? However, with those things, there are some mindsets that a young person will have, that even while all those things are at work, they still find a way. That is the loophole that now makes them walk out of the faith. Yeah, that's the loophole that now make them walk out of the faith. And this mindset comes in terms of women, money, lifestyle, and the rest. Power, all those things. But I'll emphasize on one because that's what is raging the environment at this society at this moment. What's your philosophy on money? How do you see money?
So money is an interesting concept because personally he amazes me in the way people take money, the way they worship. It genuinely amazes me, because I have this philosophy about money here. If you and I are going to share money and it will cause problem, I don't mind you taking the whole thing. You can have it or leave. That's what's going to save the problem for you, because I'm not one that believe in primitive accumulation of wealth and all of that. It has never been me at all. People that I've worked with all along will tell you the same story. That it's just not me. I'm by the grace of God, I'm quite content at every stage. The things that matter most to me are things that money cannot buy. So having that understanding makes it easy for me to not have money issues. Because I know that money cannot buy family, for instance. Money cannot buy well-behaved children and stuff like that. Even if you take money to go and buy a child somewhere, it doesn't guarantee that they'll be well-behaved and stuff like that. Those are the most important things in life. So the most important things in life, money cannot buy them. So it beggars belief. And I genuinely cannot understand why people are so crazy about money. Because the most important things in life, money cannot buy them. Not even your life itself. So look at Steve Jobs, that created Apple, or made Apple what it is today. He died of cancer in his early 50s. He was lying down, dying, billionaire in dollars. Nothing could be done about it. And he died in his 50s, billionaire in dollars. So when you see things like that, why are you now killing yourself, running helter-skelter about money?
They will say man must survive.
So all those things are just aberrations. So when it comes to money, money is basically meant to be what it is, to solve your basic needs. And it comes back to scripture. You see, there's too many examples in scripture. See, from when Christ sent the disciples out, he said, take nothing with you. And when they came by, he said, okay, you took nothing. Did you lack anything? Absolutely not. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is Philippians 4:6. Say, be careful for nothing.
Everything.
And at every time it works. So when people are running helter-skelter, you just stay there, be careful for nothing, pray about it, thank God for it, and it just works. So because of this philosophy, money has never really been a motivation for me and everything. So when you look at me, you expect that I have truckload of billions parked somewhere, but unfortunately not. Maybe the household I grew in is a contributory factor, because my dad too was like that. He wasn't one to accumulate wealth and all of that. No, money is meant to solve problems. So if I have 5,000 naira in my account and you come here have a problem of 5,000, I'll give it to you. I don't have to say it's my last money I can do, because I know that if I have my own problem, the money will come. You know, that's just how God works. So when it comes to money, money is not something I view as a challenge. The way people are falling over themselves, and you simply just have a, you just do not steal. End of story. You know, you don't take what's not yours. So because you don't do that, you know, you're not gonna be. The government coffers, there's 3 billion lying in the office. It's not yours. You can't take it.
Not yours.
You know, you see, sometimes listening to Pastor Debi in Redeem of Redeem. I was listening to him one time. Well, I was reading it. I think it was one of his morning devotions I was reading. And he was giving an example about office stationery. He said, even a Bible don't take from the office. And since I read that, that was the end of it. If I go to the office, I don't even need paper. If I need paper, I'll go to the bookshop and buy. And there's free paper in the office. But once I read that in Adebi wrote, I'm not a reading person, but I know that he's a man of God, and I believe what he says. You know, so you cannot become governor today and decide that, oh, because I'm governor today, I want to become a clean person. If you are not clean in the past, or you're not used to it, it just cannot happen. You know, so when it comes to the leadership, I think we just need to be deliberate about how we select our leaders. You know, you look at all of those factors, and then when they come, they're not learning how to do it. It is something that's already part and parcel of them. You know, so this factor about shady deals, you don't have to be shady, and you will still rise to the top. So I'll give you an example of an experience I had. Can't remember what level I was, maybe level 9 or 10, the service. Yeah, level 9, I think. So I took over somebody's jobs, and he was taking off the jobs because he was accepting bribes and letting contractors go without actually doing the job. So they now withdrew him from all of his projects and handed all the projects to me. You know, even though I was his junior. And then he was not left without projects. And when they handed all these projects to me, one of his contractors now came to me and said, look, this job is worth X amount of money. I'll give you X and you will sign it. You know, I said, no. So you will not give me X, you will go and do the job. He said, that's not how he has been operating with the other guy. I said, that is why the guy is no longer here. You know, so he said, I said, you will go and do the job. So I'm not taking your 1 naira. He left. He came back the second day. He said, engineer, I've increased the offer. I said, Oga, me and you have a problem. Go and do your work. He left. The third day he came, and I told him that I'm going to report you to the director because it is you that made this guy to lose his job. You want me to also lose my own. You don't know, the guy left.